Hey friends, this is Jennifer, and this is the Jennifer Allwood Show, the podcast for women who want to find freedom in both their life and in their business. I help women find the courage to fulfill their calling in life without sacrificing their faith or their family. In this show, I give you my very best life and business advice, plus bring you world-class guests and give you a healthy dose of Jesus every single time. So buckle in, my friend. I'm so excited you're here today. Well, hello, friends. Welcome back to the podcast. This is podcast episode number 270. We're going to talk about something we never talk about today. I feel like, Lauren, I should introduce you with that song. Like, we don't talk about Bruno. Like, I never talk about Etsy.
I know.
I know, but I want to talk about Etsy. This is going to be such a great conversation.
I'm so glad that you allowed me to be the one to break the ice and come in.
Yes, no, this is going to be a really good conversation because I feel like at different times I've kind of gotten the reputation for being anti-Etsy. And it's not that I'm anti-Etsy, it's I'm anti-ever putting all of your eggs into one basket. And I think that has become even more important to me the older I get. And I, through some good counseling and the Holy Spirit, I'm kind of uncovering why that is. Just wanting women to always have options. It boils down to that. And I think just, in the era that I was raised in and perhaps the way I was raised, there weren't a lot of options. So the more I see, how you can build a business and the different opportunities for people, I'm like, I just always want women to have options. So I'm glad that you are here. Now, listen, to those of you on the other end who are like, well, this doesn't apply to me at all. I don't have an Etsy account, none of the things. I want you to keep listening because we're going to talk about some reasons maybe you should be on Etsy, some ways to protect yourself on Etsy. You're going to know somebody in your world who sells things on Etsy that you're going to be able to forward this to. And Lauren's just a deep well of wisdom. So let me introduce you real quick, Lauren. Okay. Let's back this bus up. All right. So friends, This is Lauren Kilgore and Lauren is in my mastermind, my Next Level Mastermind. And we were recently in, Florida together, which was amazing. And so you perhaps saw her in some of the pictures there, but I love the different perspective to some things that Lauren brings to the group. And I wanted to feature her here today. So let me give you just a little bit of her bio. Okay. By the way, your bio is very fancy. Okay. It sounds really good. You sound really smart. Okay, here we go. Lauren Kilgore is an accountant. I did not know that. I did not know you used to do accounting.
20 years.
Okay, so how do you go from accounting brain to like wreath maker? That's like using two totally different sides of your brain.
And that's kind of why I liked it, I think.
Yeah, you're like an anomaly. Kind of, you've got half and half. Like God's like, let me give her half a brain and half a brain. Okay, I got it. All right. So Lauren was an accountant who turned into a wreath maker who turned into an Etsy expert. So she's a certified Etsy U instructor. She helps creatives open and market their Etsy shops through SEO, which is search engine optimization, and through social media. She has an active shop on Etsy, which is called Beautiful Mesh. You can go check that out. Selling wreath and other home decor items. And she is in the top. Okay. This is why she's here today. The top 0.1% of all shops on Etsy. Like that is insane, Lauren.
That sounds crazy to me, but that's what they say.
That is amazing. That's what the experts tell me. In other words, she knows her stuff. Okay. So Lauren teaches creatives in all industries because the principles of selling Etsy are the same no matter what you sell. I love that because I've said the same thing about like Facebook and Instagram. I don't care if you're a creative or an accountant, like we were talking about. The same things work across all industries. So you can go find out more about Lauren and get some information on her classes at laurenkilgore.com. And then at the end of this, I'll make sure Lauren tells us where to go find her on social media. So, all right, let's talk about how you ever got started on Etsy in the first place. How did that happen?
Oh, goodness. Well, back in 2014, I was making wreaths just for my own front door. I was a single mom back then. My daughter was little. She would go to bed at night and I was bored and I needed a hobby. So I decided to make some and then I posted them on Facebook and people were like, oh, you should make these. I was like, okay, sure. And my sister has a big Etsy shop. She sells like wedding invitations and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, well, I guess that's the next logical place to go. Yeah. She does that. So I threw some up there and, in the beginning, obviously it was slow, but, because there wasn't a lot of people like me back then to teach. Who
were teaching. Right.
Yeah.
So you were just probably modeling what you were doing on Etsy off what you saw your sister doing.
Yeah. I mean, and nobody, it's one of those things that you don't know inherently how to do it. You don't know how to do marketing and social, like SEO and all that stuff. Like you have to learn it. You have to, either you learn it yourself or you learn it from someone else. It doesn't come naturally to everybody. Yes. And, so if people get on there and are totally lost, like Like, I feel you. It's not total. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And is there like any number, and I'm putting you totally on the spot with this question because this was not in our notes at all, but how many people have things listed? Like how many accounts or shops are on Etsy right now? It has to be a ton.
I can't remember what the last number is of the number of sellers.
Okay.
I mean, there's 90 some million buyers. I know that because I always keep count of how many buyers, and they exploded in 2020 for sure. And they've been increasing every year since they started, but over 90 million buyers. So yeah, there's a lot, and sellers have increased too because there was a lot of, they call them COVID crafters, and a lot of people who have started online businesses, in the last year or two. But I mean, it depends on what category you're in. Yeah, there's tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of stuff.
Well, what's interesting is I need to totally eat my words because a couple of years ago, I remember I did a podcast about something that had to do, with Etsy. And I just said, I would never go to Etsy to like shop. Like I just don't go to Etsy to shop until we bought our home in Florida last year.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Lauren, other than the furniture, all of the wall hangings, all of the artwork, all of the funny signs about swimming, all of it has come from Etsy. Every single ounce of it.
And one of my most popular items is a beach wreath. I need to send you one.
It's a beach what?
A beach wreath.
Oh, that's amazing. Yes. So it's been so funny because I was like, I don't shop on Etsy until I was looking for all of these things that, were like 30A related, or our place is called Bougie on the Beach. And so I was looking up things with the word bougie, and I would always just go to Etsy. And then what's also interesting is Easton is getting ready to graduate here in Kansas City. So I have been on Etsy looking at like graduation party favors. Yeah. We literally have tattoos made with his graduation face that we got off Etsy. I know we've got like this big floating #graduate sign that's going to be floating in our pool. Got all of it off Etsy. So I apologize to all of you Etsy people who were right and I was wrong. So Jason and I have this thing in our marriage. We talked about it on our last podcast that we've just decided it's really helpful if I look at him sometimes and I go, you were right and I was wrong. Or if he'll look at me and go, you were right, Jen, and I was wrong. It's just, so to all of you Etsy people, you were right and I was wrong. My apologies.
Great, unique place to find unique things you wouldn't find elsewhere. Yes. And that's why I love it.
Yes.
And I've heard you talk about Etsy a lot, and sometimes I'm like, well, why is she so down on Etsy? But you know what? The truth is, I believe the same thing as you do. Like, even though I'm an Etsy coach and I love Etsy and I really think that it's a great place to be, I have my own website, and I never would think that should be your only place to sell. But I think it can be an addition to. It's a great additional place if you're selling on a website, if you're selling locally, if you're selling at on Facebook, it can be another place. It's just another avenue to sell. It's just like social media. Like, why wouldn't you be on Instagram and Facebook? It's just another place to find customers.
And the cost of like entry is low, and it's easier, to get into that versus doing your own website. And honestly, that's what I've always said is I'm not anti Etsy. I just don't want you to put all of your eggs into Etsy's basket. I want you to also have your own website. So, so I love that. Okay. So you started your Etsy site and you've been selling things now for how long on Etsy?
Like 8 years, 7 years.
Okay. Awesome. And so initially you said it was a little bit slow. So when did things start to really pick up for you?
Probably not until like 2017. Okay. When I had been doing it for a few years and really had been able to do enough research and product research and keyword research and everything in my own shop to see what worked and what didn't.
So were there some things in particular, like the keywords and things that you finally figured out that made the huge shift?
Yes, because I think in the beginning, and I think this is a big mistake that a lot of Etsy sellers do, is that they just want to just describe the item as it is, or give it like some title. When they say title, like it's a title of a work of art in an art gallery. And the way AI works and computers work, nobody's going to find it unless you are using the same words that the buyers are using. So instead of just straight out titling something like this is a beach wreath, making sure to use the keywords that other people would be typing in, not knowing what it is.
Nautical front door wreath or something like that.
Like not knowing what I have yet. What would they be looking for? They're just looking for like some beach decor for their house.
Got it. Okay.
So
that makes really good sense. Okay. So if we have people that are here who are already on Etsy and they're not seeing like a great, they're not seeing those sales clicking in every day. Or if somebody who is wanting to get on Etsy, do you have maybe like 3 things that you would suggest everybody do right now to help with sales on Etsy?
I would say one, definitely, expand your keywords. Make sure you're taking advantage of the title and the tags spot on Etsy. Make sure that you're using enough unique keywords and enough different words of, again, that like buyers would be searching for. That would be for sure. And, don't limit yourself there, because that's the only way people are going to find you. Etsy's not like a Facebook where it has a news feed. I mean, it has a homepage, and you can like search around if you want, but they're not going to present to you with things. Like you need to actively go search for them.
Yes.
The other thing is, I know obviously Etsy's algorithm, but you need to be doing some work on social media. I know there are some people that think that you should be able to do everything and just get traffic organically in Etsy, which you can. But when 50% of my traffic comes from social media, why would I leave that on the table?
Right.
I'm definitely going to, make sure that I
being like intentional about sending people from Facebook to your Etsy account.
Making sure you have links like in your Instagram and in your Facebook, and making sure that you're making posts about your product and creating that brand awareness. Like when it comes to selling anything, brand awareness is the biggest thing, because there's so many wreath makers out there. There's so many Tumblr sellers out there. There's so many different, things are oversaturated. And the way to break through that, I think, is to really make sure that you're the one that people think of first.
Right.
Or that, your brand is top of their mind. So social media, I would say keywords, and then review your stats. If you're on Etsy, go look at your stats, go see what's working and what's not. What's the most viewed listing? What's the least viewed listing? What keywords are people using to get to your shop? And then like, what ones are they not? And then you can play around and, delete some or add some or do whatever you need to do. But look at your stats, whether it's on Etsy or connected to Google Analytics or whatever, but you need to look into and kind of like dive into your shop.
And so do you have like kind of some rules of thumb, Lauren, in terms of like who Etsy is really good for and then like who it's really not good for?
I would say, again, it's good for everybody. Again, because it can be in addition to whatever it is you're doing locally. A lot of people sometimes are like, well, I sell fine on Facebook, or I sell on craft shows and it's great. Great. Don't stop that. I don't want you to stop that. I just want you to add another layer, another venue so that you can be selling. When it comes to what Etsy is maybe not for, definitely it's not for someone who wants an easy sell, because but selling online in particular.
Right. Yeah. It always has to be intentional. Yep.
Right. And then I would say, it's funny as it sounds, Etsy, it's a handmade site, but selling one-of-a-kind products is the hardest way to use Etsy. So selling one-of-a-kind products you can do, but if you can have something that can sell over and over, that helps your shop in so much, just because Etsy sees it as popular. They're going to rank it higher, then they're going to rank your whole shop higher. Like, this is a shop that's actually selling something. So if you can have just a couple things in your shop that can sell over and over that you can remake, then you can still have those one-of-a-kind items. But selling one-of-a-kind is difficult.
Okay. And you're talking about like things that are personalized, like the tattoos of Easton's face that I got this week off of Etsy.
Right.
He's in a
whatever it is. Yeah. Or a sign that you can just remake over and over, a wreath that you can remake over and over, a jewelry bracelet that you can remake over and over, that looks the exact same.
Okay. That is a really good tip. So I'll remind me to show you sometime the tattoos we got of Easton, because his high school colors are green. And so his hat is green and his robe for graduation is green. And then like I picked this funny design for the tattoo that has 2 red hearts on it. So he looks just like, and he's got like blonde, naturally colored hair. He looks just like Buddy the Elf. His tattoos look like Buddy the Elf. His graduation tattoos do. It's so funny because he's all in green. I love it so much. Okay. Okay. So here is one of the things that has been like my beef with Etsy that I just want a really candid conversation with you about this, because this is going to help somebody just in like terms of protecting themselves. So one of my beefs with Etsy has been when I see that somebody has only, opened an Etsy store and they maybe don't have a website, and they have done something, perhaps, on purpose or on accident, and their Etsy shop gets closed down. And then, and that's when I see people sharing their posts and they're sending me DMs. Hey, Jennifer, have you seen Susie? She was her family's only income, with 5 small kids, and Etsy just took her shop down. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so tell me what is going on with Etsy with that, because my guess is that there are sometimes that happens. There's a very good, valid reason that Etsy has. So can we talk about that and how to protect yourself on Etsy?
So I don't think it would be in their best interest to cut off anybody's shop that's doing well for them, that's selling well, and that's following all the rules.
Okay.
So, I don't think it's ever an accident. not to say that it couldn't happen,
Sure.
but normally there's some reason. And normally the biggest reason is that they've infringed on someone's copyright or trademark. That can be the biggest reason.
Okay.
That I see. So if that happens, they're not gonna play around if you have too many of those.
Okay.
Yes, it has happened sometimes by
like
accident.
bad reviews. If there's people that are multiple bad reviews.
Yeah, I mean, depends if you're just like not shipping on time and you're not, if you're just a jerk to your customers.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have a problem selling. They want a good experience, but so, they don't normally shut people down just because. There's usually a reason.
Okay.
And so as long as you're following the rules, you should be fine. As long as you're responding to customers, as long as you're mailing your stuff out on time, you're not infringing on copyrights. You've done what they've asked, which this year they're asking for everybody's social security number because, the laws have changed as far as, taxes and stuff. And they've closed some shops down until people have given them their tax info.
Okay.
So as long as you do,
I didn't even know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so, I was aware of a girl at the beginning of like COVID when there was a lot of supply chain issues whose shop got closed down. And, many people messaged me about it. And I think it was because several of her shipments of getting product in were delayed. So she couldn't get her shipments back out. And I didn't follow the story long enough to know if she ever got opened back up or not. But that was when, when I was like, listen, friends, you can have Etsy, but you've got to have a website too.
Right.
You've got to have another way of contacting your people and putting something for sale in front of them. I want to make sure you have an email list. I want to make sure you have a texting list. I want to make sure you have a website, and you can do Etsy also, just in case.
Back it up.
Sideways. Yes. Yeah. So talk to me about like the fees and things on Etsy right now. What are those fees currently at? Is it a set number or does it fluctuate or?
So they just changed them. They did just increase them last month from 5% to 6.5%. So it's 1.5%, which, in the grand scheme of things is, $1.50 per 100. So it's not a lot, but it can, it'll add up for sure. So you just have to make sure that you're taking that into account. But that, again, like you said in the beginning, that's why I love Etsy, because it is such a low barrier to entry. You just to open a shop, it's free. Yeah. To list one thing, it's 20 cents. So, and you can get free listings from people as well. So, you don't have to put a whole bunch of money up front. Yeah. So I think overall, the fees, obviously there's credit card fees and there's overall, I think now it's probably somewhere around 10% total fees, but that's still less than Amazon Handmade. That's still less than eBay. That's still less than, paying to, I don't know how much I paid to have my website set up, when I did that. So you have to play around with it.
Yeah. Inside of your courses then, when Etsy does a raise increase or, a rate increase in their percentage of what they're keeping, do you suggest then that people bump up the prices of their products or not necessarily?
I would say you can, but you don't have to do it too much because, 1.5% isn't a ton.
It's small. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but I think people should reevaluate regularly, at least quarterly to make sure that your shipping costs are not rising, that your materials costs are not rising, and that you're definitely still making a profit. Okay. So I would revisit it as much as, every couple of months.
Perfect. So give us a couple of tips. I know you said like some keywords and things, but for people who are they've already got stuff set up on Etsy, they're just not getting their products found. So, what is your biggest suggestions? Is it the keywords? Is it really good photos? Is it making sure they get traffic? Is it all of those things?
It is all of those things. Etsy did a survey or, I think it was like a survey a couple years ago about what was the most important factor that, buyers looked at when it came to purchasing. And number one was pictures. Above price. Above everything is if somebody's pictures didn't look professional and enticing and whatever, they didn't even click it. Nobody bought it. Yes. So yes, that's important. That's not going to get you found because your keywords are what's going to get you found. But once you're there on the page with, all these other people, your pictures are what's going to get them to click.
Okay.
So yes, that's important as well. Making sure that one of the other biggest problems I see with Etsy shops is that people don't fill out their shop completely. There's bio in there. There's your policies in there. There's your photos of yourself that you can put in there. Some of that stuff is actually helpful for the algorithm. It actually will bump you up in search because Etsy wants you to have it in there. And some of it is just gives that trust to your customers that, hey, this is a real shop. This is not a scammy shop. This is a real person. Like, here's her photo. And, so, those kinds of things also can really help. And I think people forget that a lot, to include that kinds of information.
So it's basically just like Facebook and Instagram. You just got to play the game.
Yes.
Give Etsy what it wants.
Do what it says. If it says to fill it out, fill it out.
I will tell you one of the other things now that I've become somebody that's shopping frequently on Etsy, because I leave gift bags on occasion for the people that stay at our condo and stuff. And so I got like a bunch of, personalized tumblers and cups that say bougie on the beach and things like that to put in the bags. But one of the things that I always look for, in addition to the pictures, is the ship date. Or estimated arrival date, because what I have found, Lauren, is that apparently I am the most last minute shopper on the planet. I don't know. And I'll be like, okay, his graduation's Tuesday and I need these on, Monday, and it's Sunday, and so that's just like kind of, my brain just works very last minute. And so I'm consistently looking at that. Like, I just had a girlfriend who turned 40 and I was looking at these really cute, like 40th birthday, beaded earrings on Etsy. They were so stinking cute. And the way I decided which one I was going with, so I was looking at several shops, was a ship date. Because the one just like, it was going to be past her birthday. And I was like, I am, really bad at ordering and thinking of things ahead of time. So I like the quick turnaround on Etsy. So how does that work for you? Like, as a seller? I mean, are you trying to get things out the door like immediately?
Yeah, it's definitely a delicate balance between not wanting to work myself to death by having a really short processing time, but, not having something too long, because you're right. Somebody will find something that will ship faster. So you got to do what's best for you when you're as a seller. The volume that I have, sometimes I do have to put things out a few days or a week or so. Sometimes I have to order a piece to finish it up or whatever. So I do try to balance that. I don't want to, and for a while I was working a full-time job and doing Etsy. So I knew I didn't have as much time. So you kind of have to play with it with the time that you have and the resources that you have, and make sure that you aren't working yourself to death, but you are getting things out somewhat quickly.
So on your Etsy shop, Beautiful Mesh, what's your number one seller?
It's a beach wreath or a baseball.
The beach wreath. Okay. Or a baseball one. Is that what you said?
Yeah, beach and baseball. There's these two.
And have those been like the biggest sellers for like years now?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, hundreds.
Tired of making them?
Yes. But yes and no. I mean, yes, it brings me money.
Yes.
And I can whip them out now in no time at all, which is nice because, I know what I'm doing I've done them so many times, but
that is awesome. Okay. So my team said that you had a freebie, a worksheet that you'd be willing to give to our people who are listening to the podcast today about brainstorming some keywords.
Yeah. Just on the front page of my website, laurenkilgore.com, is a worksheet on, brainstorming keywords. So beyond thinking of, again, just titling this thing what it is, what occasion would somebody use it for, and what holiday would use it for, like who would buy it, what is it, what's the texture of it, like it asks you questions like that, and the answers to those are great keywords to put in your listing.
Okay, perfect. So that's Lauren Kilgore. That's spelled Kilgore. So Lauren, where can people find you other than on Etsy, on social media? Where can they find your course? Where do you have your stuff where you're teaching people Etsy?
All that stuff is at laurenkilgore.com as well.
Perfect.
And I think links to my social media are probably there. But I'm Beautiful Mesh on Facebook. I think I'm Beautiful Mesh Wreaths on Instagram. I'm Beautiful Mesh pretty much everywhere. Okay. That's how I started. And so, that's usually what I use for all my handles.
Okay. Lauren, you're brilliant. I told you that when we were at the mastermind. I told you you're brilliant and wanted to get you onto the podcast. So thank you for what you're doing, because I know a lot of women who are on Etsy and they're just not seeing great results. And so you're really helping other women really build their brands, and just the bottom line is sell more, which so many women need right now. So thank you for using your expertise and being in that top 0.1% to teach other people how to do the same.
I think that there's so much beauty out there that deserves to be sold, and it kills me that people can't sell it and it just sits, and it deserves to be out there. If you've got talent, you deserve to be able to sell it. It deserves to be in somebody else's home. I want to help people do that.
I love that. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
All right. So friends, go take a peek at Lauren's Etsy shop at Beautiful Mesh. Go take a peek at her website. If you or someone you know needs some help on Etsy, go check out her courses at laurenkilgore.com. And if you're interested in our mastermind by any means, you can go to creatorsnextlevel.com and get on the wait list for the next time we open. You can hang out with Lauren and I in a room, and we would love that. So Lauren, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good one. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right.
Friend, thank you so much for listening to the podcast again this week. I'm so honored that you come back for every episode and that you share the Jennifer Allwood Show with your friends and family. Every time I see you guys post about it on Instagram or Facebook or something, it just makes me do a little happy. So thank you. Make sure that you subscribe to the podcast if you never want to miss an episode. So you can go to Apple Podcasts or Stitcher or Spotify or any of the other podcasting places and subscribe each week so that every week you get the new episode when it releases. So just know that I love bringing you relevant content. I love bringing you great guests. And one of the ways you can help us here at Team Allwood is by leaving the podcast a review. So if you have just a second to do that, would you go over and leave a review for the Jennifer Allwood Show? Thank you again. You're amazing. I'm honored to be here. Until next week. Bye-bye.